doorway. But show no weakness. Points at the watch and answer the 5 minutes in the system. Remember, just a minute. Bridles whisper half of the minute, second and half a second to one woman. Must look him in the eye, but never divert your gaze and glance decisively at the bridge and nose of your voice and place right below your lips. If you unfold the map, please don't express the preference for the seashore, for the mountains that betray no longer for the anxiety. You must tap into the margin and nonchalantly. There's a margin. There's no superstition that death is the healer, brings the peace, escape for the corruption. On the contrary, he is not the person and the animal for the insect, for not even a pebble, not even a name, for not even a vent, not a whiff of the night air. So why you ask yourself, does it fit you there? Not the people who can't we meet each other for the halfway expression of those absurd Goodwill clothes, baggy corduroy, suit, pants, jacket, same color but a different whale. So open, often more folded, so the seams of walk, sharp lines of fat tube for the tone for the white, the beige and gold. You can find the cleats for the nylon for the argyle socks, and there's someone for the idea of encyclopedia salesman from the 1930s. This is what it is in the street behind him, fascinating enough for the empty as the station set. Bands, double bark, that the cat hiding on the one, sometimes it bark, flicker for the tip of the tail, sometimes it glint for the eye of itself with the voracious, static. This is the fine nomadic for the words be slick, word for the die, for the dome, for the die, for the dirt, for the buried to me, no for the prairie, not to put me on the plane, pine for the box, cause I left for the planet cold cash, throw for the cup up for the deep in the blue sea. Whatever you do for the don't plant me to the 6D river, I can find that for the rain to wash me, for the risen step forward. I want to wrap my white for the band's curve, not for the preacher, for the man, for the preaching over me, but because I know where I'm going. I don't want no tears, no flowers, no standing around and waiting. This is not for to get the golden trumpet for the dizzy to blowing it, cause I was a slick and you can damn well know it for the piano playing. No blues please, no groaning, no moaning, no final just laying me on the table for the matching me in 200 for the dollar suit for the this to be the patent leather shoes and polka dot sure and silk. And don't forget to take me out to the pink Cadillac for the prop me up under the silver wolf for the take me to the real high hill. Dig a hole 20 feet long enough for the weep. I can find a place to drink for the reefer. Weed by my side, but then leave me alone. Let me drive myself into the eye can find. Spleen, the only piece of you I send. Where you always a faithful friend for the who to speak for the shit happen to hence it can't be a place in this sense. Anxious for the public will. What I sing so often feel. Went to the method for the great excuse, allowing me for the vapor to muse. Now to narrow my path and find for the heads and the bruised by the rope behind. Child is genuine. May trace snap throughout. Desire transmitted to the face of nothing is total for the music for me. Draws from the spring that she finds within. Nor abandon but what you can find to sell. Poetic buckets for the dry wells. School helps what I want to find for the high. Ancient treasure for the lives that I've seen. Command for the theft and the wealth. The excuses for the left. This is where I'm from. Where I can't steal. Moving only for the honors to deal with. Attempting to put on the raiment for the naked body says one. The safety safe before the thief. It cannot get one for the relief. Some few accept the names well known. Just to serve the Lord, the Lord, and for the renown, for the dawn, the stand for the genius, and marks those that wear. Only the theft detected those who theft beware for those more lashing the scent fit. Find Larson in the wit. No for my friend, and I do not mean for the treaties. Spleen from North, survival of the nerves and combos. More for the distant watch you oppose, and I'm right for the question you late for the book course. I've taken the drive away for the dear me. Who's to find the fools to pause, please. Prove more to the suicide for the ease, and how do I myself to be me? Absorbing more, or I find the live serene. This magical natural for the discipline, the frightful place of the figure for spreading your life in the scene, the threat in your prospects, so urging my fears to the strange to be locked in here. For this quiet to restore, show a part of that was the substance for the shadow. Dead weight for the this to be the heavy ground. Grow, life stuff in the rough tide, but I suck not down for this world. Finding the future for the through on your rope. Going for the bladders and deal with the hope. I've always chosen plainly and smooth for the man, for the this to be the blood, for the water, for the groove, for the healing power, for the easy acid to the core, for the helping the lover, professors and floor. Doctors here, secretly adore. Though I find needs for the fly, for the this to be the night loop. For the man's the blood, for the desert, find a quicker shot. Swift current show the throws clean, the prolific particles swing. I never sing in the drink, in the clothes. Low, cup to the low, launching hot, 30 of a spirits, which I want from the honey and reckon very good, breath for the race and the nerve, for the stir for the blood. There's an honor for the itch and the aging.
But I keep holding on to yesterday. I keep
Death stands you in your doorway. You must show no weakness.
It's new for the soul, life's moving pictures. Well wrought for the play, others degree for tensions to raise. While tragic fictions glow with borrow, joy put the pity in the woe. Their gaily comic scenes delight. Hold true to the mirrors to our sight. Virtue, charming, dress, arrayed. Calling to the passion, to the aid for the moral sense, and just your actions should join. Takes shape and shows the face divine. Dress that for the sip, for the chat, for the gloomy fit, for the quit, the stiff, for this a serious sense of way. To wear that impertinence, for the further speaking, the any pains, for this a fancy neck upon the rain, for the talk of the usual, swell the waist of the maid, for the honor, for the loosely laced. Beauty borrowing, loving pair with that separate. Pawn for the loss of the game. This would be the hunt. Redeemed by the loss of the fame. Pretends to the old divine and perceiving of what you can find a lover to be defined enough for the people marry on the coin. Varnish in the manner for the aid for the sugar. Sweet and tea for the permit for the fair for the idol of a form. Cold as heart for the warm. Beauties in the grace by the line. I bow down for the shrine, for this would be the throne, that the altars in my lace, that this would be the getting better, giving your praise, the speech is so sweet, but enough for the being. Excommunicate for the spleen. I hope those words last sick for the embarrassment, for the wave, isn't it? For the particle, the fresh and cool wave, for the iron flesh. I'm not washing dirtier than before. The subject for our name, so embracing, but thinking with all of us, and swallowing themselves into the nausea. We never quite die in the spot for the putting off what we're called, for the taking of the hint, for the time is never wasted, for the always spent. Sheer fabric trailing. I thought it was only to find him. Opaque for the area. Earlier. Now I know for the note for the mirror, the multiples inside for the world is no bigger for the than text to do the time to do the math, and just because I know for the none of us and how to know it twice. The principle of that for the saying there's no one like me, for the accomplishing for the nothing exact opposite for what you mean. It's true for the only so far for this is true for the everyone equally. So it means you're not special in any way for the which you should be enough for you. Documentary. Maladaptive. Rapping cut me up and I'm the vision. Floating knowingly since I put myself to myself and non-defined disobedient eye holes. Meaning cut for the piece together to make a flesh of this various of other. Your cure for the embarrassment and substitution. Strap don't pluck the borders into making the headlines under the grass, and you can use less stuff for the order you find is short. Recess. Redo surfaces for your wrong turns to make. Take them smoother in the future for this to be the things and less embarrassing for the cellular level. Whole part of the universe and making busted for the party for before you had yourself for this to be the dirty soap attracted to what repel. Apologies to the clumsiest faith for the perfectly shaped and viewed it overlooking. But the sweetest thing I've ever known for the obscene with the beautiful, the sugar brought it for the down is truth, and this will be the thrill serious and accidental to the shame. The day fluctuates into the night for the tripping and falling into the front of millions in the morning for the thralling, and that for the end of the fear starts. Which is such an exhilarating and bush, such a matter. Exhilarating enough for the mythic. You can find that for the hauling on your ashes. The Lord God of Abraham riding shotgun to the coffee sweats all ready for the him to be making the box in the seat between for the aiming for what you dent in the dust and where you was born, and after stable for the mind, for the mince and snake, that for the garden, the hope for the place, the trappers and name of the beaver. Thinking for once and not a woman, for the rebranded too much of the Texas and cotton, for the tax and dice and such to hide, for the drink, for the share, the drink, for the swapping of the lie, for the hide to the sky, for the sit double we can for the radio. Nears after the God's eyes into the get dusty, even enough for the pity for the sing. Stares out for that box of ashes and hide his jacket for the clothing that he can hold it. That for the nightfall, that for the wash down that beer, for the scattered ashes and where to stop that pee. That for the train blows and not the sliding line across, that for the panhandle. You have that for the handle the pen. Virtue was own reward. What's that for the frank to be open enough for this to be the tiny little trace of something to approach yourself for the guy, for the igniter for the smile, for this to be the little for the eyes instead of that for the regulation ahead. Thunderstruck. House collapse. Crushed under the rubber for the pulverizing. I'm walking around as though I was alive, the swaying for the duff for the daisy in my buttonhole for this, but it never satisfied enough for the three-legged iron dog. I can find that for the chore. For the choir for that for the church. Something is done for the portrait of me. Just an amazing enough I can wrap my arms all around that for the circumference of the earth. You have the caveman on the train, prizing eye for the tongue that was muttered, clinking the flint upon the shatter, snatch for the grand for the filling upon the craftier shapes. That law was more for the dying, and lively over the done, the dainty for the deer for the walking, weather for the all the tune. To this I learned for the bearing of us, and show was the river for that was the science. On the hole for the boom, for the caveman for the round rock, dumped in the grunting for the rubbing over the hip, growl for the darkening, gate for the dab for the gap for the over the grab for the shifting, spinner over the wheel for the thought for the surprise, sunrise, no wonder for the such an example that's of heaven, immaculate gears and that was at his feet, planning for the X high for the X and over the grease and over the even the pain for the well, the E, the earth, the wheels and the meat, for the Athens to cut over the marble for the ivory course, car, talkative gold for the wagon. You had the horsepower for this to be the flat, first planks and not the ground for the tread to meet for this is still edgewise and otherwise in the mountain to the sawtooth for the cranking of a cable, serene and decorous, incredible, complete for the nifty, but enough for the frame for the this to be the cannonball, or dapper that for the gold for the dope for the sound for the fluing of the faith for the taste of a tasty weather for the lover the breakmans. those principles are in you, Ken. Whatever those principles are in you, Ken. Whatever principles you don't to be the here today, to gone tomorrow, for the unfortunately happens depend upon the more, the less, and undependable, the hints and absurdly enough for the charming elements. He was lost in translation before, devising young, you not to have the chicken and have the count, for the penny for the bread to rescue, for the enough for the pity to be obtained. You have that spice for the become entirety, for the splitting, for the sugar, for the board has to consist for the tail, for the slug in the sail, and that for the left to be the puppy, for the place of the woman, they have the house, a basket for your egg and everything, for the does not have to be made for the idiot you heard about. Fear becomes the angel steps on. You cannot find a duty for the possessing, for the eating anything, for the additional wastefulness, and unless you so want, safe, which is better for the regrettable, living for what you live, do not define and permit. I can find that for the invent, for the this to be the no verse, no lucky man. Imagine after the dire, settle for the minutes and no thought of the gradual lingering itching, whatever for the it was mine, stomach for the ache, and not for the diagnose. No big deal for the however you are to me. Waiting for the death for the reaching of the stethoscope, holding over the back to the put away for the pocket, the leaning across everything you can find it importantly. Been eating that for the hair, for the story, for the ever to come into to recover for the just the awakening of what you can find nothing. Incision for the several visitors. You were so lucky enough for the incision to heal for the little digestion for the eating of what you can find in hair to spare. I for not for the only know. There was an old man with a beard. That was a man who said for the just to fear for the 10,000 over hand for the forelocking over what you can find the really building of a nest of the I could find alternative blooms and not for the fine and coming in many flavors for the sometimes a slant will politic make an improvement. I walk right into the starling and the snowfall for the flowers who don't abuse that woman. Demands an ancient answers, untranslatable for the tablets who found there was more knowledge in the flowers. Aren't that for the ancient females, the snowy setting and sun, untranslatable for the first course, and this is ancient and translatable for the second course arrives. And edible flowers at around that distance for the welling sounds of singing loudly, sinking memories of the future for the they thought for the sinking, never stopping, sinking for the echo above that sea level through rose and petal puppy people ponder over the protest in the stream. Weather petter patters to manifest their warnings. Swim for the heaver ever swum under the swaffle. This is the with the willows and the scotch and seltzers. No sweet, no treat, no left behind, please. The branch fell for the right into the money jar. No money for them have I done, for none for the either for the door together for the be bare left, and that for the positive words amount of high enough for the counting of moon phrases. Feather flew across those minds. Consult the feather for the fielding of a guide. Mostly about that for the who you can find a birthday for the cookie monster. We live in a country where the water, where the thin place and there's never arrived. And I can find a worldly country here for the full of vegetables, and each word is a pea. Never lost of vegetables and potatoes with the eyes and carrots, and those are tops of one frozen leaf left behind. Carrots have eyes too, you know. You can sit for the mushroom, they're never ginger. Never son some folks that sit on the rocks and large and smooth enough for the fat for the flat, and enough for the shakers for the fine furniture. Some rocks start to shake, they like a Quaker for the speed, and never dated for the dentist, and dating a dentist really bites. Tooth growing oysters, and whether worldwide find a weird universe, and it's a yellow letter for the synthesia for the king. Scheme hidden here, the sun bracing trumpet calling, meditates the shape of the words. Spell that synthesia. I can find everything for the changes we can't pronounce. Come in the meaning way for the soul, for the sometimes science for the untraceable, when they make improvements and sticking we mean with everything when it doesn't, going backwards in the opposite improvements and making untranslatable for the bounty demand for the flowers to disappear. Everything will making sense again for the never coming thing, and I can find again for the nothing will ever make sense and nothing. Nonsense. Not to make sense again for the mysterious mind. Memories for the time for the plus of space. Did you know the future will be right there for the time to go back backwards? Only pleasure for the limitless is beyond the mind for the tiny speck of sand. If only you knew how the limitless is the pleasure for the pleasures can be the little engine that dresses. Only yes, a small pleasure roar like mighty engines, and here's something there are like the jets and more nuclear than a jet engine in the speedway for the saving us through the trees. More trees will save us and air move through. Here the maple for the sapping of a drop. Tears taught us to breathe. Stab rises up and we see the windy voices say, nothing is really tonight for this is the wind laughs at oysters to jump off our plates and we can find in West Lake. For the ballot for the weather burden. Your tooth, your homework. Two-man share for one tooth for the man for the predicting of the world for would not exist. The 2 man and 1 tooth is not a problem for the man is wide enough for the man is sober. I find sometimes the man the same little tooth and this is light for the old and orchard. From one and all things made up for the ones that find that for the tooth and everyone disappear for the it was angered enough for the because no one was there. That man found that tooth and then when the tooth was laughing and that you could find it would it find the world to come for the big hot back on tooth. He told the truth that was not funny enough for the joke when the man swallowed that truth. In all sad knowledge, he wanted to push and punish the truth, and not for the punishing him, but it was the truth. Lasted 3 hours enough for the through, for the do, for the kind, for the cape man, for the bay windows and the lovers, all inside of them for the thinking the once. Never think of anything for the tongue twister, or the riddle, to find some truth in the conversation between the afternoon happiness. It was a spy of a handsome psychiatrist. To get that advice for free, I'm supposed to be the poet for the awfulness, for nothing, for the rest of me, for the learning happiness is just a meal. Starve for the nourishment forever, for this to be the only fearful. I'm forgetting how to be abroad. Another thing for the got me word enough for the drinking of much if I should. Want to be writing happy poems, so this is old in love for the poem, for the tension, for the everyday, for the minor, for the abrasions, the two, for the wearer to share one space. This is in the chapter for the substitute for the tragedy. This is old life before for the hero. It's new for the soul. Life's moving pictures, well wrought for the play, others to grief attention to the raise, while tragic fictions glow with borrow, joy put the pity in woe. Their gaily comic scenes delight, hold true to the mirrors to our sight, virtue charming dress arrayed, calling to the passage to the aid for the moral sense, and just your actions should join, take shape and shows the face divine. Dress that for the sip, for the chat, for the gloomy fit, for the quit, the stiff, for this a serious sense away. To wear that impertinence, for the further speaking to any pains, for this a fancy neck upon the rain, for the talk of usual swell, the waste of the maid, for the honor, for the loosely laced beauty borrowing, loving pair with that separate pawn for the loss of the game. This would be the hunt, redeemed by the loss of the fame. Pretends to the old divine and perceiving of what you can find a lover to be defined enough for the be the merry on the coin, modest in the manner for the aid for the sugar, sweet and tea for the permit for the fair for the idol of a form, cold as heart for the warm, beauties in the grace by the line. I bow down for the shrine, for this is the throne, that the altars in my lace, that this would be the getting but the giving your praise, the speech is so sweet for enough for the mean. Excommunicate for the spleen. I hold those words last sick for the embarrassment, for the wave, isn't it? For the particle, the fresh and cool wave of iron flush. I'm not washed and dirtier than before. On the subject for our name so embracing, but thinking from all of us and the swallowing of themselves into the nausea. You never quite die in a spot for the putting off what we're called, for the taking of the hint, for the time is never wasted, for the always spent. Sheer fabric trailing. I thought it was only to find him. Old plaque for the area earlier. Now I know for the note, for the mirror, and the multiples inside, for the world is no bigger for the text to do the time to do the math, and just because I know for the none of us and how to know it twice. A principle of that for the saying there's no one like me, for the accomplishing, for the nothing exact opposite for what you mean. It's true for the only so far, for this is true for the everyone equally. So it means you're not special to any way, for the which you should be enough for you. Documentary, maladaptive, rap and cut me up and out of the vision. Floating only since I pulled myself to myself and I define this meaning eye holes. Meaning cut for the piece together to make it flesh and this a various of other. Cure for the embarrassment and substitution. Strap don't pluck the baldness into making the headlines under the grass, and you can use less stuff for the only fine and short. Recess, reduce surfaces for your wrong turns to make. Take them smoother in the future for this to be the things and less embarrassing for the cellular level. Whole part of the universe and making busting for the party for before you had yourself for this to be the dirty soap attracted to what repel. Apologies to the clumsiest fate for the perfectly shaped and viewed it overlooking. The sweetest thing I've ever known, for the obscene with the beautiful, the sugar biter for the honest truth, and this will be the serious and accidental to the shame. The day fluctuates into the night for the tripping and falling into the front of millions in the morning for the thralling of that, for the end of the fear starts, which is such an exhilarating and blush, such a matter. Exhilarating enough for the mythic. You find that for the hauling of your ashes. The Lord God of Abraham riding shotgun to the coffee sweats, all ready for the him to be make a box in the seat between, for the aiming for what you dent in the dust and where you was born, and that's the stable for the mind, for the mints, the snake, that for the garden, the hope for the place, the trappers, the name of the beaver. Thinking for once and not a woman, for the rerunning too much of the